Am I the a-hole for making a crass joke to make my father-in-law uncomfortable? Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my ex's child support? Am I the a-hole for refusing to dye my hair a different color? Am I the a-hole for making a crass joke to make my father-in-law uncomfortable? We were visiting my wife's parents. We don't visit at all. My wife doesn't have a good relationship with them. My father-in-law pulled me aside and told me that he had to tell me something. He told me that I should reconsider the marriage because my wife is straight and she had never dated a woman before me. He also said my wife always loved the finer things in life, and she married me because she couldn't find a rich man. He said this with absolute sincerity. I didn't know what I could say to that, and I ended joking that if she is straight, she's really great at faking orgasms. He was very embarrassed by it and dropped the subject. My wife is upset with me because she hated that I talked to her parents about our sex life, and her mom found it really inappropriate and is telling her to be more respectful. I feel like an a-hole because I didn't really defend her properly and embarrassed her instead.
BSH, how about he learn respect and respectfully mind his homophobic ass business? Who is he to pull you aside and tell you she's straight? Why did he decide that was the respectful thing to say? You can tell MIL doesn't check him either. Tell your MIL that FIL needs to be more respectful. How about that for respect, ma'am? I say ESHBC, I don't disagree, saying something snarky back was called for, but you ended up embarrassing your wife. You don't owe them an apology, just apologize to your wife for making her feel bad. BC, you included her in the comeback. A comeback to his homophobia is absolutely warranted. Make him feel uncomfortable again, Lamau, just not at the expense of your wife. Very soft ESH. You had no intention of harming your wife, obviously, and she was harmed. It's good to take accountability for your actions resulting in her embarrassment. Her father is certainly an asshole for what he said to you. Being put on the spot in that situation makes it very difficult to communicate well. Consider having a conversation with your wife on how she would like you to handle these situations if they arise in the future. These are her parents, and relationships with family, especially parents, are complicated. She likely has good advice on how to navigate difficult conversations with them. Taking her lead and working on how to communicate as a team shows that you are considerate of her. With my difficult family members, I might say something like, I love your daughter and your daughter loves me. Your inability to accept our relationship does not change reality, and we do not need your approval to live a happy life. Please keep your bigotry to yourself. However, that might not be a good approach for her family. His comments are a reflection of his insecurities, and he used those words to take those insecurities out on you. At the end of the day, it is clear that your number one concern is the well-being of your wife, otherwise you wouldn't be here asking this question. It sounds to me like you ran into one of those social double standards where certain types of people are allowed to be a-holes and the rest of us are expected to tolerate them. In this case, the intolerant, homophobic, probably religious father is clearly being an a-hole, but society more or less tolerates that kind of a-hole and cuts him a lot of slack. But if you respond to his piggish behavior in kind, you don't get cut the same kind of slack, so people think you're the a-hole. Was that an a-hole thing to do? Yeah, kinda. But you were not the a-hole because your father-in-law was being an a-hole already. You were just responding in kind. The fact that everyone seems more upset about what you said than what he said, there's that double standard I was talking about. The SH, except your GF. If he thought she was getting married for the wrong reasons, that's definitely a conversation he should have had directly with his daughter, not you. But it's not okay to bring up your sex life with someone without their prior consent, regardless of the circumstances. There's a basic assumption of privacy in the bedroom which you violated. It's even more embarrassing for her because it's her parents. People usually have very specific, though often unspoken, boundaries regarding what information they share with their parents about sex and what is kept private. Many people don't want their parents to even know they have sex at all, and many parents choose to maintain an illusion that their kids are perpetually celibate and just pretend they don't know. Bringing up orgasms breaks those illusions and is kind of like outing her as sexually active to her parents before she's ready. It's just not cool. NTA, if life were perfect and the perfect thing to say was always on the tips of our tongues when the need arose, but you decided to talk about your wife's orgasms instead, then you would be TA. Under the shock and immediacy of the circumstances, however, I find it baffling that your wife, and more than a few in these replies, finds it more troubling to acknowledge her sexuality, with its attendant orgasms, than to have her accused of being a predatory, manipulative deceiver who prostituted herself for your bank account. Somehow being aghast at saying out loud married women experience orgasm seems contrived, especially when it's said to a man who literally just said out loud that his daughter is a lying st. Let yourself off the hook for this one.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my ex's child support? This actually happened last night, but it has been bugging me since it happened. I feel like TA, but I also don't. Long story short, I am separated by my soon-to-be ex-husband. We were together for 10 years, married for 6. We have been separated for about 2 months after it came to light that he was cheating on me with a 19-year-old and broke his 4-year sobriety. We have 2 small children, 5 years and 11 months. I also have an 11-year-old stepdaughter. My ex and his ex-wife's marriage was annulled before I ever came into the picture. For the entire time I was with my husband, he paid $900 a month in child support, sometimes more even. When my oldest was 2 weeks old, he gave his ex $3,000 because she was several months behind on rent and was facing eviction. With my stepdaughter, it was always on us to get her new school clothes, supplies, shoes, etc. Her mother would just forget. With my husband just up and abandoning us, it has put me in a financial bind. I am on a fixed income, student stipend, and only receive $1,300 a month. I have filed for child support through my state, but who knows when I begin receiving it. Last night, out of the blue, his ex messaged me. Apparently, when my husband abandoned us, he stopped paying his child support too. He has not paid for November, nor will probably pay for December either. His ex asked me to pay his back and current CS. She and her new partner have 1 child already and she is expecting again. She told me how they were counting on that money to catch up on the bills, take care of Christmas. I told her no, there's no way I can do that. I have my own 2 children to take care for. I am barely surviving as it is. While my ex is still paying the mortgage, I am responsible for utilities and such. I can't help, he has decided not to pay CS. She called me selfish, an a-hole, accused me of not caring about my stepdaughter, threatened legal action to make me pay. At that point, I rolled my eyes and stopped responding. Part of me feels bad that I can't help her because I know my stepdaughter is the one who will suffer. But part of me is like, well, tough luck, because both she and her partner work full-time. I am a full-time student, stay-at-home mom who was thrust into single motherhood by my ex having his midlife crisis and just fucking off. So Reddit, am I the a-hole?
I just want to reiterate, call the IRS and have your account mirrored. If you owe any taxes with this guy, request a CNC, currently not collectible, and explain it's for a hardship. The reps will know what you're asking for, just do it. You have earned income credit, child tax credits, and possibly a refund of any withholding due to you, and I'm sure he knows it. If you file together, and he files before you can make any changes, he can get it all sent to his own address, and leave you completely out of it, so do that today and make sure you're protected. 1-800-829-1040 please, don't let this sit. Do it as soon as you can, and if they don't pick up right away, keep calling. Most cities have a local IRS office. If you can't get through on the phone, look it up and just go down there. Make sure to wear a mask, they'll require that. Of course, that only works if you're in the US. NTA. It's all well and good to care for your stepdaughter, but her mother needs to know you're not responsible for her, she is. Are you Australian? You sound Australian. If you are, harass the ever-living shit out of Centrelink until they step up. I just graduated high school, work hasn't opened because my boss has medical reasoning, and Centrelink decided I'm not eligible for youth, student or apprentice payments because I'm a dependent. I'm both studying a qualification and I'm in a working apprenticeship and I'm still not eligible. Disaster payments ended over a month ago and I've been on no income since. I can barely get by on no income and I live at home. I can't even imagine how tough you're doing it as a student with 2 kiddos in the picture. Raise hell until you get that support, girl. You've got Redditors standing behind you to support you every step of the way. Definitely NTA, I realize you care about your stepdaughter, but you have to feed your kids and keep a roof over their heads and electricity on. His ex has a partner and they both work. I know it is a hardship not to get that child support when you expect it, but they have to make do. You are not responsible for his child support. She should also expect her child support will decrease in the future as he is now responsible for his living expenses and 3 kids. I highly recommend you find a good caring divorce attorney that will take your case at a reduced rate. Attorneys are great at nickel and diming clients for up to years. A nickel equals $500 and a dime equals $1,000. Don't pay for the attorney's kid to go to Harvard. My daughter could have had college paid for with all the money her dad spent on lawyers and forced me to spend. If you can do it without lawyers, even better. Your state's child support enforcement will properly calculate child support. I wish you all the luck. And no, life will get better. You got this. NTA, and let me share something with you. When my ex stopped paying child support like yours will do to you and has already done to her, I took that deadbeat to court. He owed me about $12K, give or take. He fucked around and found out. Bailiff took him into custody, and if he didn't come up with significant money, he'd have to do 4 months in the county jail. He ended up doing a month in county before he miraculously came up with some money. He hasn't been late since. He learned a few lessons from this. 1. I have the ability to hire a good lawyer. 2. My intent to have him incarcerated was stated clearly from the beginning of the proceedings, so yeah, I wanted him locked up and was willing to pay good money to make it happen. 3. He knows I will take great joy in seeing him locked up in the future. I'm not rich, it's a struggle to be a single mom. I work hard. And my claws are sharp. Absolutely not the asshole. Your ex's ex is bold for asking you, essentially a complete stranger, to pay an obligation that has nothing to do with you in any relevant or legal way. Do not pay this, do not feel bad about not paying this. You can't save all the starfish, and as sad as it is, your ex's daughter is just out of your reach. Focus on yourself and your kids. This probably are looking a little bleak now, but my worry is that the really difficult times are coming and you need to prepare. Unless the court has ordered him to continue paying the mortgage, be ready for him to default on it and leave you in a lurch. If he's worried about his credit, he might not do such a thing, but if people consciously and deliberately work the system, they can secure a new mortgage before the default of the old one hits the credit bureaus. Also, if you are in the US, call the IRS as soon as possible and tell them you want to mirror your account. That keeps him from messing with your taxes, changing mailing addresses, claiming your return for himself, etc. Do that soon because filing season is about to start.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to dye my hair a different color? Do have mod permission to repost. So this happened very recently. It started this morning and ended about an hour ago. I, 17 male, just finished my school year today, and it's now the December holidays. I dye my hair every year and this year is no different. And my father, 57 male, is fighting me to tooth and nail this time. He's always been against it, but this time he was very vocal about it. Some background on my father: he's incredibly conservative and old-fashioned. He is a raging racist, homophobe, and sexist, to the point where he calls apartheid the good old days. We're in South Africa, so this is a big deal. He constantly uses slurs towards anyone who isn't white and straight. He doesn't have the best track record for being a father either. Yelled at me when I cried because I got hurt because boys don't cry. He barely talks to me except when he wants to show me off to his work buddies, just because I'm in a prestigious school. The homophobia is especially a problem for me personally, due to the fact that I'm gay. I've been calling him out on his shitty takes for as long as I can remember, whether it's him being racist, sexist, or whatever. I told him I'm dyeing my hair again this year and he starts swearing at me about how if we go to the beach this year, I better have normal fucking hair for once. Obviously, I ask why. He then went on to say that me having dyed hair makes him miserable and ruins his vacation. This afternoon on the way home, he orders me, not gently, but literally orders me to get my hair dyed on Monday and not tomorrow. He refused to tell me why, but it's pretty obvious. Saturday is a family reunion. Obviously, I refuse and say that I'm getting my hair dyed as soon as possible and that he doesn't have a single say in my choices and how I present myself. He's not paying for the dye, I am using my own money. He then calls me selfish and inconsiderate and tells me that I'm ruining his holiday and that I could do something for him for once in my life. From my view, he's ashamed of me and wants me to be his model son. So am I the a-hole?
NTA, but is this the hill you want to die on? Your father is compromising by asking you to dye your hair after the reunion. If you let him have this win, you then have capital to hold over his head when you want something more important than coloring your hair on a specific day. Your dad sounds awful, BTW. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. You know you don't have to speak to him, right? You don't have to take his calls, respond to his texts, or try and reason with him. That's not going to work for me. Can be the end of your part of the conversation if you choose to engage. There is no requirement to converse with someone who abuses and shames you, especially since you're basically an adult and don't live with him. Maybe you're just no longer available to take his calls, and if he comes over, you're busy elsewhere. If he starts on you in front of other people, be the rational one. Calm down, dad, let's talk about this when you're not drinking, less emotional. Or you know I'm an adult, right? This conversation is over. Then walk away. Ooh, OP, can you teach me the secrets of mind control and how to force people to feel various feelings like you obviously are doing with your dad? That seems like a very handy life pro tip. I know I certainly go through life wanting other people to feel badly all the time, so I would sure love to know how to make that fanciful magic work in real life. Per second, I will never understand people who use the "you make me feel" line and then expect to be treated like grown-ass adults. Because it seems to me like it's basically that person admitting that they are very, very easy to manipulate, and I don't understand why that's a good thing. I dunno, maybe I'm the weird one. NTA. Unpopular opinion. I would also need more info, like when does your December vacation end? You said you finished your school year. So is college next? Is there a date you have to have your normal hair color back? You're not an and your father is an for so many reasons. Dye your hair whatever you want. But would waiting till Monday be a big deal? He's come around from no way at all to just wait till Monday. Yeah, he has his issues about showing up to the family reunion with you in purple hair. But he gave a bit. Can't you? You can dye your hair literally any time, most of the time. Bit of a backstory. I left my parents' home as soon as I graduated high school. Every day was WW3 with my stepdad from my 18-year-old perspective. It was exhausting. There were very few days of peace. I would take peace over arguing any day. It's just not productive. You're an adult now. As you mature, you will find that a bit of compromise and knowing when to choose your battles goes a long way towards peaceful days. Hope your hair comes out great. NTA. It sucks that her dad is who and how he is. You don't deserve that. But life is not fair, and you can't change him. And you can't change you, and shouldn't have to. If you're willing to be who you are, dress and style yourself the way you want out in the world and disregard their judgments, you're gonna have to be the same with your dad. Save your money while you can, and move out ASAP. Live your life free of him, and find you PPL who you can make her a family. Family is more than blood, it's about love and acceptance. Find you that family and he won't matter anymore. NTA. His happiness doesn't trump yours. If he wants to pay you for normal hair, feel free to come up with a ridiculous price. 10,000 rand, perhaps. Seriously. He wants you to be his perfect, straight, racist, sexist son. He wants a chip off the old block. A block that has held on to dreams of apartheid which ended over 30 years ago. Enjoy your hair and enjoy your life with less of him in it.